one.
All right, all right.
All right, guys. Thank you. This is the Truth Behind the Truth after show. All right, or the truth behind, what do we call it? The after truth. After the truth. That's exactly what happens after the truth. So, continued conversation as to what we were talking about tonight. We may get a little bit more explicit if we go that direction. So, just put your seatbelt on. We'll have a little fun for about 10-15 minutes with you guys. All right. So,
but going back into that conversation about buyout Rustin, did you see the movie yet?
I saw a screening with Better Brothers LA.
Oh, okay. How was it?
It was really good. And like you were saying, D, it's so important for people to know who Bayard Rustin was and what all he did. Because a lot of people, they either didn't hear his name, they had no idea who he was. Yes. And then those few people who might have known his name had no idea that he was an openly gay Black man back then.
Yeah, exactly. And can you imagine the ridicule that he had to experience?
It was part of his FBI file. Right. That was his FBI file, and on top of that, him being part of the Communist Youth League of that time period. But like I was saying, in the beginning, I think it's sad though that as a community, and everybody was part of the Communist Youth League, because Bea Richards said this best. Bea Richards said, "I knew nothing. I knew nothing of communism, but I grew up with fascism. I grew up with fascism because Jim Crow was fascism."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the representation of what Hitler got his situation from Jim Crow. Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, everybody that was Black knew anybody who was communist, because we understood what it was, because it didn't kill us, it didn't take away our liberty, and take away our rights. But going back to that, that was part of his FBI file. But the fact that we axed him out of our own history, that was really a slap in our face. Plus, on top of that, him being homosexuality was the reason why we axed him out. Because the thing back in those days was Martin Luther King couldn't put him out on the forefront because of his sexuality, because he would have lost credibility with the movement. But that was the worst thing that was the worst thing for us, I would say, for our history. Yeah. That was messed up.
Yeah. They talk about that in the film, that whole thing with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Really wanting him out, and just be like the whole worry about, and we still have the after effects of it to this day with Black Lives Matter.
He was a philanderer. Clayton Powell was a philanderer. The man was sleeping with women left and right. I mean, he cheated on his first wife with Hazel Scott, the pianist, and cost her career.
Right. But that's okay because he was straight.
You know what?
Child, you know what? The people that we like to revere, some of these folks are not clean in their own situation. But
and you make a point that to revere, but here's the thing.
Jesse Jackson is one.
Oh my God!
Let's not get on that one.
Oh my! We would have to have after the after. Okay. Oh my God!
Not get on that one, honey. Ooh, Miss Jesse Jackson, he a mess. My grandma didn't even like him. He was a pretty mess, but he was a mess.
I'm going to plead the fifth on this one because I know his son and I'm close to the family, so I'm going to stay out of this conversation.
Well, I heard,
but the truth is behind the truth. Okay.
All right. We'll leave that one alone, Charles.
For tonight. Okay. But that's something we need to talk about, baby. Well, you know what? As you know, Charles, I've been inspired to do a movie behind that anyway. But
we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Well, and his son's got his own problems to deal with and stuff. That's a whole other talk show.
Whole another talk about, But I mean, as you were saying, it's so unfortunate, and guys, as far as our diverse audience, we're not sending you out. Okay, this is just talk we're having right now. At the end of the day, but and you're getting more information by listening rather than kind of putting blinders on to what's being said, because these are truths behind the truth. And yes, the Black community did isolate Bayard Rustin for they were of the embarrassment they thought it would bring to the movement because of him liking men. At the end of the day, I mean,
there's so much hypocrisy the woman, Rosa Parks wasn't the first woman to not give up her seat. There was another woman that did it, a young lady who done it. And because she was dark complected and she wasn't of stature in the neighborhood like Rosa was, they overlooked her and then went to Rosa's story to make her a icon in the civil rights movement.
Right.
When that's the thing. There are so many differences. So many people got cut out for their skin tone, for their jobs, their livelihoods.
So many people, including Bayard Rustin, because Bayard Rustin refused to give up his seat a decade beforehand.
Wow. And so many people that didn't get credit throughout this movement. But as you say, you can be on the right side or the wrong side of history. And we're learning, which is why I say we only have but a little bit of time to do the right thing. Because when you do what you do at a knee-jerk reaction, history shows you where you were wrong at. And people come along and go, what the hell were you thinking, Uncle Charles? Or how was you? They don't see like kids now, they get mad at parents who had secrets that they had a kid. Right. But in those days, a kid would disappear down south and never come back for a year. Come back with a new sister or a new cousin. You're like, oh, where were you at? Oh, I was just down south. See, but there are kids now who are pissed. Why didn't you stand up for me? But these are different times. And there are different societal norms that we don't necessarily have to agree with, but that are a foothold of our community.
So true.
It's just how it is.
And just talking about, people that have been typically isolated because of their sexuality, and they had to, I guess, would you say, do things undercover. Let's even talk about Langston Hughes just for a moment. Oh. You know what I'm saying? One of the greatest prolific poets of whatever century, you know what I mean? And what he had to do to keep himself hidden in so many ways. But the one thing that I appreciated about him is that through his poetry, he let you know what was going on, if you follow the poetry in the way that it was written. And I in that same time frame, even during the Harlem Renaissance, I mean, there was such I think so many problems. I know there's a lot in my head going right about this. That black men typically not being able to embrace who they were in that time period,
and women leave our sisters out.
Yeah, no, it's true. No. But the one thing that the Harlem Renaissance did was it gave them an opportunity for another level of freedom. Of course, we found that jazz music came through that in a big way, and in a lot of cultural expression. That's the best way that came through during the Harlem Renaissance. But even into our that phase of our life, even is not less talk. It's very less talked about. And I think because it really exposed a lot of things of who we were or who we could potentially be. And then you had that other community of us that didn't want you to know about that. And I ain't gonna get on church tonight, but so I just want to bring that up because it's kind of coinciding the same thing.
Well, the other thing, need to watch that film though. We need to support.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely
Obama's film too. Michelle Obama's production.
One other thing I want to say, you guys can go ahead, was about film, whatever. I'm sure most of us have seen it. HBO did the best civil rights film ever, in terms of which was Boycott. If you had not seen Boycott on HBO, see it. I mean, it touched on everything. It gave you all perspectives of what went on during the time of the movement. Bayard is mentioning that they actually show a point where he came and met with Martin and all of the above and explained the reason why he couldn't stay. Brilliantly played. It showed the antagonistic side of the people that did not want the march to happen and the ones that didn't want the civil rights movement to happen. It showed them. It showed Rosa Parks. It showed
they played by UK actors. That's a big thing now. That's a big thing now. American actors no more. They all our black actors are from the UK.
Actually, I had two friends that was in Boycott, but who played Martin was Jeffrey. What's Jeffrey Dark? What's Jeffrey? You know his name. In the Hunger Games and done. Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright, yeah. So he played Martin, and a brilliant job,
and which is great because he plays Adam Clayton Powell in Rustin.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright's the man. He can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
He is. So, but I encourage you guys, audience, and and if you guys haven't seen it, definitely it's on HBO. I mean, this has been out probably maybe 15 years ago, I'm thinking, something like that. I know it was shot in Atlanta as well, but very, very, very good. I just have to say, one of the most accurate ways of putting a civil rights film together, because it exposed so many different points, but it brought them all together, and it wasn't about Martin, but it ended up being about Martin. At the end of the day, so it kind of gave so many pinpoints about it.
He spoke at the rally himself too. I think he was part of the speak. He was one of the speakers besides oh my God, the congressman. What was his name?
Not John Conyers. John Lewis.
John Lewis was there. He spoke before Martin, but it's just the fact that it became more about Martin because of the "I Have a Dream" speech.
Right.
But it's so funny, and I thought about this one day. People like to bring that speech up. They love to bring that speech up every time they want to talk about equality and all this stuff. But even back then, that speech was torn down because of his Marxist views. A lot of people did not like that speech when it came out, when it first was spoken. A lot of people didn't even understand it.
Right.
Because they didn't see, they still don't understand it now. They use it more for political ploy right now than it is for what it needs to be, a reality.
Right.
But the saddest thing about it is that you hear more of that coming from the Republican side, and I hate to use now as a political scope, but that "I Have a Dream" speech is is a political theater. It's so political right now with that speech.
Well, let me bring a little bit of clarification to your point, about that and what that speech was about. From my understanding, when it was in, there are certain parts that weren't there and that were more introduced when he got to Washington, was added to the speech.
Most definitely,
And some points they said it was a little bit more radical than what they wanted to present at that particular point in time. Now, the deep side, or the quote unquote a prophetic side of that, was the things that he brought out about the equality of his children, and I'm not quoting it exactly, but the character of the content of his content. And then on the Red Clay Hills of Georgia, you would see everybody joining hand in hand. So there was some, I would say, some prophetic moments that was written into that speech, and for a great time. Now, prophetically speaking, if you want to look at it from that perspective, that part of the speech, I strictly believe that it happened, and it happened in 1996 in Georgia, which was the Olympics, because you had people all over the world coming to that particular place to engage and have, and it was celebrating liberty among humanity. So it did happen, as it was quoted for that. Now, do we see that as something like in our age? Well, maybe not. We miss a lot. You know what I'm saying? We miss a lot by looking for something that may have not necessarily been there, or reading something more into it. But I listened to that speech, very clearly when I was like, this is what's going on. And I think I don't know if I shared this with the regular show at some point in time, but I remember this is when I got the Martin endowment, I guess I would call it. I was working for a gym there, and during the Olympics, and they the Brenda Woods, you remember Brenda Woods, Charles? That used to be newscaster on Channel 5, one of them. But anyway, so they were doing the end of the day, type of thing, talking about the Olympics, whatever. So they were panning different areas, and so they panned the Cauldron, first, and then they came back and they panned the King Center, and his tomb. So as they were panning, they stopped, and there was this Caucasian gentleman. He was sitting at the water fountain, reading the "I Have a Dream" speech. I was like, wow. So that became, for me, like a catalyst moment of this man's spoken, his spoken request was manifesting itself. A lot of times we expect these things to manifest in such a big way, but a lot of times it shows up in more than simplicity, and touching as he said, it's the hearts of men. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot for a heart to change. We see
that now. We definitely see that now. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people's hearts are really, at this point in the game right now in this society that we live in, it's rock hard, solid. People I don't know, and I just probably see it from what I'm seeing. At this point, when it comes down to our social media, outlets, it's we're seeing just all types of craziness in our society. I mean, do y'all agree? It's just mental distress just listening, and because I hear what you're saying, but right now in the society that we live in, it's so like, oh my gosh, help us, help us.
I want to say as we in this whole segment, as we ended the first show, in the thankful mode, in whatever the case, in that point, and I hope that everybody heard our heart, and and all that thing. I'm putting a challenge out there for be it next month, next week, whatever. When you guys share this and hear this, I would love for you all to get in touch, send us an email that's out there about why you follow Trump.
Oh Lord.
Okay, no, I'm serious. I really want to know where your mind is. Okay, and why you feel.
It's like, I'm not that flexible to demonstrate.
Okay. However, okay, I really, 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 in all sincerity, I want to know why y'all think this way. What is it? Because like I told you, we have come to a point. I call y'all in the Jim Jones syndrome, because I'm just waiting for y'all to roll up with the Kool-Aid in your hand, okay, and just drink till you can't drink no more. All right, but I really want you. I'm serious, and this is a deep part. I'm getting serious. I want to hear from y'all. Because I really wanted to have a discussion about why you feel like this man is your rock and savior at this point. So pass this word out there. You guys who heard it, send this video out and let people know that the truth behind the truth wants to know why you want to follow Trump. That's the question. Okay. It may take you a month, a week, or whatever. And Charles, could you put up our email address? It'll be on this clip so they will know where to send it. All right. Please send it to the ttbttshow@gmail.com. We will take that email and invite you on the show, maybe, but we do want to hear from you. All right, guys, it's been swell. All right, have a happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you for tuning into the truth behind the truth after show. All right, bye, y'all.